Hi guys, welcome back to the That's Where I'm At podcast. See, I already stopped because because I have a new intro and so I'm trying to learn it. Okay, one more time.
You're so funny.
Hi guys, welcome back to the That's Where I'm At podcast. If you're only listening today, I hope you'll go check out and subscribe to the YouTube channel where you can not only see our beautiful faces, but you'll be able to leave some love for our guest. Today on the show, I have Stephanie. Stephanie is a publicist, event curator, and storyteller with more than 25 years of experience in brand and celebrity public relations across New York, Boston, and Los Angeles. Over the course of her career, she has led multi-million-dollar campaigns and worked alongside some of the most recognized names in entertainment and media. But her work didn't stop there. After navigating a major life transition, Stephanie stepped into what she now calls her second act. What once felt like an ending became the beginning of something deeper. Through healing, self reflection, and a renewed relationship with God, she began creating a life that felt more honest and more aligned with who she truly is. Today, she is the host of Second Act Sessions, where she shares real conversations about midlife, faith, healing, and what it looks like to rebuild your life with intention. It's so exciting. Welcome, Stephanie.
Oh, welcome. So great to see you again, Laura.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing what you're doing. It's
Thank you.
definitely the audience that's listening right now. So I know that our story is going to resonate with them today. And
Yes.
so I want to hear about what made you decide to pivot, right? into
Into my second act.
into your second act, like,
Mhm.
like some of us have been forced into, but talk to me
Yeah.
about what happened.
Sure. So I just want to say, first of all, thank you for having me.
Of
And for
course.
those of you listening who may not know, I had Laura on my podcast last year
Yeah.
as a narcissistic expert. And your post really resonated with me. And I knew I wanted to have someone on to discuss that topic because I too am a survivor of narcissistic abuse. And I feel like that's something that even listening to our podcast, it was so helpful because everything you were discussing and sharing in your 30 plus years of being married was the exact same thing that I walked through. So it was really nice to feel as if you understood me and had that
Yeah.
empathy. And I think that's what's really great is you don't feel as alone walking through something like
Yeah.
that. So,
Well, and that's why we have to keep talking about it, and
yes.
why us sharing our stories on each other's podcast. And actually, if you're on YouTube, I'm gonna link
Yes.
to your YouTube, and
Perfect.
so that way you guys can watch both episodes and both shows, and just get some information from other people as well.
Yeah. And that really is helpful. And like I said, I've sent so many of my friends who are either walking through divorce or experiencing similar, emotional abuse. I've sent them to you as well. So I think it's great that
Thank
we're able
you.
to share all this. And
Yes, for sure.
my story, is kind of similar. Got married in my mid 30s and clearly avoided all the red flags. Like that wasn't a thing back then. Red flags, like no one was talking about this. This is
No.
back in early 2000s. So 2007 is when I met my ex. We got engaged in 2008, married in 2009. We were married ultimately for 13 and a half years. And I didn't know I was married to a narcissist. I did not know until after we were going through the divorce. And I started seeing posts such as yours on Instagram and all throughout social, just with this word narcissist. And I'm like, what in God's name is that? But
Yeah.
that's when it clicked for me. When you hear the word and the definition and what it entails, you're like, oh my gosh, they're talking about me and my relationship. So that was very eye-opening. So we were married, didn't have the greatest, healthiest marriage, as you can well understand. Fortunately, we were not able to have children, so that was in a lot of ways a godsend, I feel.
Yeah. Yeah.
But one thing I feel like for me, I've had to understand is that emotional abuse is so different because there's no bruises,
Mhm.
right? You can't
Yeah.
see it.
Yep.
And so what I found in my relationship was that it was a slow, gradual chipping away of myself, right? This
Yeah.
person who I loved and thought loved me,
Yeah.
it was just so manipulating, controlling, and it's
Yeah.
little by little, it's gradual. So you don't see it right away
You
because
don't.
as I'm doing my podcast and sharing my story openly, I know a lot of people are probably thinking, well, why didn't she leave? And I think there's a lot of reasons. It's obviously you're scared, you're petrified, you're worried about this and that. But I feel like I wasn't weak, I was wounded. And that's what people are understanding. And you don't want to share how wounded you are or what's really going on, because a lot of you has a lot of shame and you're embarrassed and you don't want people to know what you're dealing with, because who in the right mind would stay for something like that? But you do, because I think in a lot of ways, you love the person they initially show you,
That's
right?
it.
They show you this
Yep.
amazing person and you believe them. And so
Yep.
you're constantly hoping that person's going to show up
Yep.
year after year, month after month, fight after fight.
Yep.
So they have you so attached, unhealthy attachment, mind you, that you are just so hopeful for the future and for who this person has shown you they can be, but you do not realize when you're in it that it's a facade. It's
Right.
fake. It's part of their charm and charisma that is what
Oh,
hooks you, right? They're the love bombing, the this, the that. I mean, I just wish someone had seen what I was walking through and
yeah.
said, you don't have to get married, right? You
But
don't
it's
have to
so
walk through
hard.
this.
I mean, but it's so hard, right? Because
Yeah,
I want to ask you, like,
sure.
before you guys got together, or maybe at the beginning of your relationship, do you
Yep.
feel you had any self-esteem? I don't know that I did, but did you feel
No.
like you had any? Okay.
Okay, I don't think I had self-esteem in that respect. I feel like my self-esteem was work related. I was so amazing in my job. I was
Okay.
successful in my career. So that was great. But I think in my personal life, being a Gen Xer, we didn't talk about our feelings
No,
growing up and our emotions. And
no.
yes, I was independent and strong. But when it came to relationships, I was very much lonely and desperate and searching for someone and needy and just wanted the attention. And so when someone gave me the attention, I
Yeah.
was like, oh, this is the most amazing thing in the world, because
Yeah.
I didn't know. I knew how to love someone else, but the problem I experienced was I didn't know how to love myself. And
Yeah.
that's not something our generation, I feel,
No.
were taught,
No.
right? We
No.
weren't taught
Oh
about
yeah. No. Gen
our
X.
feelings.
No, and then it almost was like we were very societalized that if you liked yourself or loved yourself, you were stuck up, or you were
Yeah.
like
Mhm.
that was weird. It's not the language that we have now.
No,
And
exactly.
always working on that external validation, right? I
Hmm.
wanted
Hmm.
really at the age when I met my ex, I wanted a boy to love me, you know what I mean? And it's like,
Yes.
this is it. This is gonna
Yes.
fill whatever deep need I have inside of me. And I
Yes.
had to learn, like you did, that it's that internal validation. Like we're
Yes.
allowed to like ourselves, right?
Yes.
Before
Yes.
we allow anyone else to say anything else. Because if somebody doesn't like us at this point, we're going to be
Hmm.
okay with that. I mean,
Yeah.
of course, we can check ourselves, make sure we're not doing something, but it's like it's better than just like, oh, please love me,
Right. And I
which is
think
what I
that's such a
was.
slippery slope, because that's when
Yeah,
we start abandoning ourselves,
no,
right?
for
Like,
sure.
because we don't have that love and that self-confidence within
Yeah,
us, we don't see the red flags. We don't know how to
yeah,
set boundaries. We don't know how to stand up and be an advocate for ourselves in the marriage. And that
yeah,
was you start to pick your battles just because you don't want to poke the bear and get them upset. So you just start shrinking yourself, unfortunately, in the marriage. And you almost don't realize it's happening until you kind of get out of it and get some space and distance to
yes,
realize you are a shell of your former self. And
yeah,
it's almost unbelievable to think that you could get there knowing like
yeah.
how strong I was in my career. I was a mover and shaker in New
Oh,
York,
yeah, yeah,
my bio, I was working with, Fortune 500 companies, every celebrity, managing
yeah,
multi-million dollar budgets, not a problem.
yeah,
But when it came to the relationships and the self-love and boundaries and self-acceptance, it wasn't there. And then
yeah,
it was even less after in being in the marriage, obviously, right? Because they
yeah,
stripped that down even further.
of
So
course.
that was part
Yeah,
of the problem.
I want to ask you how he was with you. Did you have this career when you guys were together?
Okay, so the ironic thing is when we met, I was a senior or vice president at my PR firm. And I
Okay.
think that's partly what he loved about me, right? Like
Yes,
I
sounds
was the
right.
catch.
Yeah.
I had everything going for me. I had a great apartment, I had a great job. He in
Yeah.
fact moved into my apartment, mind you. He was living at home with his mother at the time. So
Wow.
he moved in
Red
with
flag.
me. Yeah, you think? But again, no one talked about red flags back then. It
Yeah.
wasn't a conversation that we had. And so um yeah, so I think And as we both know, narcissists are very like smart in a lot of ways. They know exactly
Yeah.
what they're doing and they know exactly who they're going after. And that's part of what they do are attracted to is strong, beautiful, independent women. And I was all of that.
Yeah.
And then that's where the disconnect comes because that's when they start pulling you away from that. So we ended up moving outside of New York when we bought our home, and I lost everything. I lost my job. I lost my financial independence. I lost my professional independence. So I lost a lot in this marriage,
Yeah.
not just my self-worth. I mean, I lost a lot. I was so unfortunate as a result, became very dependent upon him financially
Yeah.
and for so many things, you know what I mean? Which is something like in hindsight, I wish I didn't do. So I lost my career. And when we
Yeah.
moved to Connecticut, I then had to figure out, well, what else am I going to
Yeah.
do? What's next for me? And that's when I
Wanna-
did start
I
my
do
own
want
event
to
planning company at the time.
I do want to like break, sorry to interrupt you, but I do want to kind of break all of that down because there's so many things in there.
Yeah.
So like he totally isolated you. Well,
Yeah.
first thing is what they love about you at the beginning is what they're going to break down immediately. So the first,
Absolutely.
and then let's go even back a step before that. What he
Mhm.
liked about you, he was going to mirror. So
Yes.
that's why we meet them and we say like this is my soulmate
Yes.
because they're mirroring you. You're falling in love
Mhm.
with yourself.
Yeah.
Congratulations. And
Yeah.
that's why it's so hard. It's like we want to get back to that person, but that's when they were faking. That's when they were wearing the mask.
Mhm.
So then he isolated you, right?
Yes.
By taking
Yes.
you, and also you had to leave that job that you were
Mhm.
successful at because we know that they don't like when we are quote unquote bigger or more successful than they are.
100%. Yes.
And to
100%.
me, it's so stupid because it is.
So
Well,
stupid. It
I,
is.
I mean, I don't know. My ex and I'd be like, would you care if I made more money than you? He'd be like, no. But I wasn't ever allowed to even try to make
Hmm.
more money than him or do
Yeah.
anything.
Hmm.
He wouldn't because they do, beat you down,
They do.
you know, and saying like, well, you're not really good at that, or we should move to Connecticut away from everything you're successful in, which is so. And so all of this,
Yeah.
see, when we're talking about this, all of this, each individual thing doesn't sound like abuse, but
Right.
all of it together is abuse.
Yes, it is. And that's what you're not seeing when you're in it because here you are
Yes.
thinking
Yeah.
you just married the fairy tale. This is
Right.
everything you ever wanted. It
Yeah.
doesn't get better than this. So
Right.
it's like they're con artists. They really
Mhm.
convince you
Yeah.
and trick you to thinking this is the best thing since sliced bread. And ironically, it's awful. I mean, it is so
Yeah.
horrible. It's
Yeah.
embarrassing also that you let yourself get to that, but it's not like you let it. It's just that you believed in love and you
Right.
wanted to have this beautiful life that they
Yeah.
are also promising you, right?
Right.
But to your point, they do hold it, they resent you for doing anything else that takes away from attention
Yes.
from them.
Oh yeah, for sure. It's so
So,
it's so it and it's so funny because a lot of times they won't just come out and say it because I don't
yeah.
know how many times my ex would, like be texting me when I was out, right, with my
Mhm.
girlfriends or whatever.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
like, when are you coming home? And I'd be like, especially when our kids were grown, I'd be like,
Yes. It's
what for?
control.
For what? Like, and
Mhm.
so then I'd be like, okay, we guys, I gotta go. And then I'd go home and he'd be asleep.
Yeah.
And what'd you need me for?
Yeah.
Or the
It's
nights that
control.
he would say, like, I'm going out. So I'd be like, oh, okay, good. If he's going out, I'm gonna make plans with my friends and I'm gonna go
Right.
out. And
Yes.
listen, going out was nothing. Going out to dinner or something. Like wasn't in a club or something.
Right.
And he would be like, you are always going out. I'm like, but you were
Yeah.
out. Like, I
Yeah.
don't get it. But
See,
you're
and
not allowed to have the same.
no. And that's what I think narcissists are like known for. It's like the double standard. Do
Yeah.
as I say, not as I do.
Yeah.
They can do whatever they want. They can get away with whatever they want, but we never can. And that's the
Right.
frustrating part, which is it's about control.
Right.
It's about manipulation. And also it's a slow deterioration of like your brain because then
Yeah.
they start making you think you're going crazy.
Right.
And You really kind of are, because they
You
are just
are.
doing so much damage
Yeah.
emotionally to you that you
Yeah.
don't know. It's a confusion that you
Yeah.
live with. And as a result, your body and your mind, you're just in a constant state of fight or flight.
Yeah.
With everything. Like, I understand that. Like, I'd be out. When are you coming home? When are you doing this? It was just
Yeah.
like constantly being monitored, and it's suffocating.
It
It's
is.
absolutely suffocating. And
Yeah.
that is such a form of abuse that people don't understand. It's
Yeah.
not just one thing, it's a laundry list of things that are
Yeah.
emotionally abusive that slowly chip away. Like, I
Yeah.
remember getting ready a stupid incident. I was getting ready one night and I thought I looked great. I had my makeup done, I had my eyes
Yes.
done. He's like, "Well, you look great, but I don't like when you wear all that eye makeup."
Yes.
So it's just those digs, and those
Right.
digs keep coming and coming, and they may seem harmless, but after a while they build up to the point where you're second guessing everything about
Right. So
yourself.
maybe I shouldn't wear the eye makeup because he didn't like it last time. So that's how they never
Yes.
have to come right out and say anything.
Yes.
It's the isolation thing too. Like
Yes.
when you're out with your girlfriends or whatever, and they're
Mhm.
texting you, when are you coming home, all that.
Yeah.
So what happens now? You are in your own head going, well, maybe next time I won't even go out
Yeah.
because it's better than having a fight, or it's better than having to have
Yes.
him text me the whole time. And that's what they want. So when people say, like, did he say you couldn't see your family, or did he say you couldn't see your girlfriends?
Oh,
No, he
no.
just drove me insane to the point where I said, forget it, I won't go. And
Exactly.
and that's what people don't understand, that it's like they are training you. And like you were talking
Mhm.
about feeling like crazy, that's their whole thing. It's chaos and
Yes.
confusion. So they're going to do
Yes.
whatever they can do, to the point where, and I'm sure you felt this way, that I did not even have any I'm losing the words. Okay, so pause.
Yeah. Producer, edit this
Oh
out.
my gosh. Geez, what's wrong with you? No, I did not have any confidence in my brain and my
Yes.
memory or anything.
Hmm. Hmm.
I had no confidence in that. And so I did feel
Yeah.
like I was going crazy, because he
Yes.
would say, like, I didn't say that. I didn't say you couldn't go out with your girlfriends, or I didn't say I didn't like eye makeup, like
Hmm.
all those things. And so got to the point where, like, I will just defer to you. I'm going to
Yeah.
defer to whatever you say, because obviously I can't remember correctly.
Yeah.
So,
There's something
and
wrong
so
with
it's that
me.
slow chipping away. Chaos and
Yes.
confusion is their whole
Yes.
thing. Their whole
Yes.
thing.
And the isolation piece is really interesting, because when you're in it, you're not thinking this is isolation. It's
Yeah.
until in hindsight, you look back, you're like, wait, I'm in Connecticut. I'm away from all of my friends, my
Yeah.
job, my career.
Yeah.
I also don't have a lot of friends up here initially. And then when I'd want to go out with my friends, you always had issues with it. So then it's just a constant. I literally had a trainer at the time. He's like, you were like a caged lion. And that's exactly how I felt. I felt like a caged lion
Yeah.
trapped in suburbia
Yeah.
in my home with this person who I didn't even recognize.
Yeah.
And he also worked from home. So he was always here. I couldn't escape that energy, and that
Yeah.
I would wake up and my day would revolve around how he woke up. Was he in a good mood? Was he
Yeah.
irritable? And then like when he would travel, I literally did a happy dance because
I
I felt
know.
freedom. Even
Me
if it was
too.
4 or 5 days, that is probably
Yeah.
how I survived as long as I did, because I
Yeah.
had those moments of freedom for myself where I
Yeah.
could at least take a moment and breathe and just
Yeah.
not worry about the constant criticism or the moodiness, or just his energy. Like, it's very
Mhm.
toxic. And like I said before, with the isolation, you don't realize it until you're in it, and then you're realizing, wait, what is going on here? Like,
Mhm.
I'm so unhappy, and my spirit was so broken
Yeah.
towards the end of my marriage. And my mother even said to me, Stephanie, I think he's making you crazy.
Wow.
And I don't talk about this often. I didn't even tell
Yeah.
my parents this, but towards the end, I was had suicidal thoughts. I
Yeah.
really did, because
Me
I was
too.
so low and
Me
broken that I'm
too.
like, you know what? Maybe it'll be better if I'm not here. I'm such a burden. I'm so hard to love.
Mhm.
Not that I
Yeah.
would ever act on it, because I know, like,
And
as a
that's how,
Christian,
but
you know,
listen, this is the exact sentence that we have all said. I've been on so many episodes. I have
Mm,
talked to so many people. I had those same thoughts,
yes,
and I didn't have a plan either. But I
right.
just would think every day, I wish I just wasn't here. It
Yes,
just
yes,
wasn't.
same.
And because that's how insane they drive you. And I have
Yes.
heard that same exact thing from so many people. that
Yes.
I didn't have a plan, but I didn't want to be alive. And I didn't even know what that meant. And it's
Yes.
horrible. And so, like, if you're listening to this and you're
Yeah.
thinking, well, it doesn't sound that bad, it's like, that's the point that they get to. And listen, I just, in my, I don't know, I don't care if it sounds petty or not. I don't think he would have cared. I don't think he would have cared,
Yeah.
because then I would have been out of his life and he could have gone off and into the sunset with his
Well,
girlfriend. You know, like
if
it, I don't think it
anything,
would
they
have.
probably would love it because then it'd be all about them and oh, poor me, my wife
Yes.
left me, she died or whatever. Like
Yeah,
they would turn it
exactly.
into something that helps them and beneficial to them
Oh, for
100%.
sure.
You know, it's
Yeah.
just so crazy. It's
Well, because they
crazy
have to,
to
I
talk about it.
know it is, and they have to play the victim. So it's just horrible. And so
Yeah.
I don't know about you, but towards the end, I was stuck like really in freeze and fawn, which is
Yes.
like I didn't want to do anything. I couldn't make decisions. I was so frozen in,
Yes.
not only frozen, but that fawn piece too. It's like I couldn't even do anything. Like I
Right.
had no motivation to really be alive. I had no
Hmm.
motivation for anything. And
Hmm.
I one ditch effort, last ditch effort to go to therapy and say, which you
Yep.
don't take, if any of this sounds familiar, or if you're resonating with any of this, you don't go to marriage counseling with someone who is abusing you, because this is
Yes.
abuse, because it's an
Yes.
imbalance of power. But I just thought if someone could show him the PowerPoint of how he's abusing me, then he'd go, oh, I'll
And
stop immediately.
change.
I'll stop
Yes.
immediately.
Of
But
course.
that's my delusion, because like we have been saying, you're
Hmm.
trying to get back to that person they showed you at the
Yes.
beginning. You're
Yes.
hoping and praying that he will show up, because they
Hmm.
can do it. And that's the thing. That's why we know that they will do whatever they want to do, and
Yep.
that they know what they're doing, because they showed us who they are, or not who they are. They showed us who they could be
Hmm.
if they
Yeah.
wanted to at the beginning.
Yes. Yeah, very
But
true. I mean, that is all so true. And I think towards the end of my marriage, I just kept saying, is this it? Is this how my life is
yeah.
going to be for the
Oh,
rest of my life? Like trapped
yeah.
in this marriage and so
Yeah.
unhappy. And I was a wife, but I wasn't a mom. But then I had a husband who didn't want to do anything with me. It's like, what? This is
And
not at all
what's the
what I
point?
envisioned my life like. And I remember
Right.
just being very sad. I was always crying. I was crying a lot towards
Yeah.
the end, and just because my spirit was so broken, something
Yeah.
had to give. And then for me, that's when ultimately I got down on my hands and knees one day,
Yeah.
bawling my eyes out, saying,
Yeah.
God, I can't do this anymore. I said,
Yeah.
I'm not, I knew I wasn't strong enough to get out myself. I've
Yeah.
tried a couple times, like through the
Yeah.
marriage. I met with a divorce lawyer at one point,
Oh,
but
okay. Yeah.
just to kind of know my options, and this
Right.
is,
Of course.
years before, but I was still, because of the control, I was so scared to leave, thinking,
Yeah.
what would that mean for me? Like, would I even get anything? I have no job, right? I have no
Mhm.
money. How am I going to support myself? So you feel very trapped. And that's why a lot of people, I feel, stay because they, like, to your point, they don't
Yeah.
have a plan. They don't know how to get
Right.
out of this. So for me, I went with God and I prayed and
Right.
prayed,
Yeah.
got on my hands and knees, like I said, and said, I need you to heal this marriage or I need you to remove it. And I said, thy will be
Yes.
done. I gave it all
Yes.
to him because I knew I
Mhm.
wasn't strong enough to handle it on my
Yeah.
own. Literally 2 weeks later, my ex came to me, sat down, said, I want a divorce.
Oh my gosh.
I was like, okay, literally, I
Yeah.
was fine because I knew this was divinely orchestrated.
Yes, exactly.
God knew I couldn't pull the trigger myself. So
Yeah.
he did it for me. And not once did I say, no, no, don't leave me. No, no, let's make this
Yeah.
work. No, I was done. I knew what this meant. He was crying, I don't know how to make you happy. And I'm like,
Oh,
okay,
they
I don't want to see
always
any of your
say that.
tears.
God, they
Yes,
always
of
say that. I don't
course.
know how to make you happy. Oh my God. Okay.
And that's what kills me. It's like I was only ever asking for time and attention, two
Yeah.
things that are completely free. He could not give that to me. And I
No.
repeatedly had to tell him that, but he didn't want to love me. So you can't force someone to love
No,
you,
you can't.
especially if they're emotionally abusing you. And what narcissists basically what I've come to learn is that they don't love themselves.
No.
So if they don't love themselves, they're never going to love you. They're never
Yeah.
going to love anyone else until they either get the therapy and healing
Mhm.
that they need, right? Because I
Yeah.
know a lot of these men and women too, it stems from child abuse or a
Yeah.
parent, a narcissistic
Yeah.
mother or a father.
Emotional
So
neglect. Yeah. Something.
it's
Yeah.
ingrained in the family. And like, that's not my responsibility
No.
to heal him or her. Like, that's
No.
their journey. I just need to get out. And anyone
Yeah.
listening, it And as a Christian, that's something I
Yeah.
struggled with, like being
Right.
divorced. I didn't believe in divorce. I was
Right.
trying to will this marriage to life until
Right.
I couldn't because, and I actually had to go back. I spoke with my pastor. I even like read scriptures in the Bible
Yeah.
because I'm like, oh my God, am I going to hell that I got a divorce?
Right.
And
Exactly.
I've read that two things. One, obviously, God never wants any of us to be in an abusive marriage,
Yep.
first and foremost. And
Yep.
he's fine with us
And there's
walking away
scripture for
from
that.
that.
I have tons of Christian resources on my
Yeah,
website
I know
because
you've mentioned that. And the
yeah,
other one was
there's
that
scripture for that.
they also say too, if an unbeliever leaves a believer,
Oh, okay.
let him or her go, and that's fine. And
Yeah.
thankfully, not thankfully, but mine was agnostic, red
Yeah.
flag, didn't pay attention to
Right.
that,
Right.
and so I really do feel like, okay, this is fine. It's
Yeah.
God approves. This has his hand all
Yeah.
over it. And so that is where my healing journey began. The day that he said, I want
I
out, he
love
moved
that.
out within 3 months. He moved into an
Okay.
apartment in the next state in Massachusetts, which was kind of great as well. He wasn't
Yeah.
in my,
Yes.
town or
Yes.
state, and having to bump into him. And then through I guess 3 years, I was really having to do a lot of, introspective work, with my
Yeah.
faith, with healing, with therapists. And that during that time of healing is when God really put it on my heart that I needed to share my story. I needed to share my journey,
That's awesome.
not just about the narcissistic abuse, but my entire life of bullying. And I think,
Yeah.
as we mentioned, not having that self-esteem growing up and
Yeah.
before, as I met him, I historically was bullied as a child. All my
Mhm.
girlfriends
Oh my
bullied
gosh.
me. So if you go from bullying and then you marry a bully, I
Yeah.
mean, it makes sense because that is
Yeah.
what's familiar. And I was addicted to the chaos.
Yeah.
And that's what I write about in my memoir that I'm working on right
Oh,
now, is
awesome.
that everything is connected. And now I've done the healing work even before the marriage, like healing
Yeah.
that girl, that little girl who never got the love
Yeah.
she needed or didn't know her own worth or her value. I
Yeah.
now know it because I know God. I'm closer to God again. And
Yes,
I believe
exactly.
and I believe God, will work everything for good and turn my mess into my message, right?
Yeah.
And that's sort
Yeah.
of what I'm hoping to do with my podcast, sharing my journey,
Yeah.
bringing along people such as yourself to share your journey, to really hopefully prevent anyone else from getting into
Yes.
a similar relationship. That's my end goal. If we help one
Yeah.
person today, Laura, we've
I
done our
know.
job, you
I
know?
know. It's true. And I'm so glad you're talking about that perspective with God because I know that while I didn't stay because
Yeah.
of that, it was we do have those things. There's the thing is
Yes.
we're sitting in church,
Mhm.
we may not be being taught
Mhm.
that we can leave because also when I'm looking back, when I was sitting in church, the there was a lot of emotional and psychological abuse around me. So
Yes.
everything seemed normal. Everything
Yes.
everything seemed like well, everybody thought Laura was a problem, but now I'm
Mhm.
learning. And so when I was on a podcast and I said that, I said, but if I was the common denominator, like, what do you tell people that? Because she's a therapist. And she's like, well, you were the common denominator, but that doesn't mean like you were the problem. It's like
Right.
you had patterns. And so
Yes.
when you, as the common denominator, changed your patterns, then everything started moving away, which is like glorious because
Yes.
I needed to learn my self-worth, not
Yes.
everybody's else's worth, because that's what I kept hearing over and over was
Yes.
that Laura, you're a problem and these are the reasons. Okay, now I know that they didn't like me setting boundaries. And
Yes.
and so I had to get out. I got out and started to like I hate myself. Let me go see what do I think of myself? What does God think of me? Like I was like,
Yes.
can someone please tell me? Because this was the thing for me sitting in church for a lot of years.
Yep.
I couldn't read the scripture without hearing my ex's voice as well because
Mm. Mm.
I was mixing him up with the Holy Spirit. And so
Oh, okay.
that was really hard for me because I would read things, like you read these scriptures or God wants you to do this. And then I would hear his voice like, no, but not you. Like you wouldn't be good
Mm.
at that. And so
Mhm.
that, I don't
Mhm.
know if you ever experienced anything like that. So that's why I had to, being away from him, I had to like break it all down. And it's like, what
Yeah.
do I think of me? And what does God think of me without his voice?
Right.
that to the
See,
point. Yeah. So I don't know if you experienced
well,
that at
mine
all.
is a little bit different. So I think it's great that you were still in your faith while you were married. At least you had that. And maybe
Yeah.
that might have been something that, in a way, also saved you or even kept you in the marriage longer. Who knows? But for
Yeah.
me, I abandoned my faith for my
Mhm.
ex. I
Yeah.
didn't go to church because he was,
Okay.
he's agnostic. He wasn't even
Yeah.
a believer.
Okay.
So
That's
I was
interesting. Yeah.
so all consumed with him and catering to him and
Yeah.
making sure he was happy and trying to please him, being a people pleaser as I
Yeah.
historically was, even with friendships.
Oh, yeah.
I was so wrapped up in him that God was nowhere in my life. He was not a
Okay.
priority. I'm calling myself a Christian, but I'm not walking the walk.
Yeah.
I'm abandoning my faith and abandoning myself
Yeah.
for this person. And I wish I hadn't. I wish I was still in church and kept going,
Yeah.
because then maybe I would have had the strength to leave sooner, or I could
Yeah.
have started to see how God would not want me in this relationship. But
Right.
that was not my journey, unfortunately. And
Right.
it's
Yeah.
fine. But now I am closer and back with my faith, obviously. And
Right.
that has been my saving grace, because when you know more, you do better. And I've
That's
learned
right.
to not, and
That's right.
I also think for me, I think when we talk about, oh, love yourself. Yes, we all should love ourselves, not in a conceited, narcissistic way, but
Right.
love ourselves because God loves us and
Yeah.
he made us perfect in his eyes.
Yeah.
And so I'm starting to see myself through his eyes
Yeah.
instead of the repeated criticism that I heard from him. Do you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like, so I
Yeah.
am starting to reprogram my brain and how I think about myself and look at myself through God's eyes. Like, okay,
Right.
you're not fat, you're not ugly, you're this, you're that, because
Right.
God made you perfect and whole.
Yeah.
And so that's been a journey. And like,
Yeah.
starting when you say love yourself, like there's moments I'm still hard on myself. I'm like,
Well,
oh,
and yeah, I
we're
was talking to
human.
somebody about that, and she said this person I was talking to said the same
Hmm.
thing. It's like,
Hmm.
how can you sit here and tell, people to love themselves when that's something that's so broken because
Yes.
we haven't figured that out. So
Yes.
I totally understood that and have now tried to like, like add this caveat
Yeah.
of like, yeah, I mean, that's where we have to go, whatever that means for
Yes.
you. Because like, I
Yes.
think Brene Brown was saying like, it's like you're, I don't know if it was her or not, but something about you are perfect just the way you are right now.
Yes. Yes.
You have value
Yes.
right now, just as you
Hmm.
are. Because I think too, when we are with an abusive partner who's like always, if you were doing this, you'd be better, or our
Hmm.
marriage would be better if you
Hmm.
were this way, or whatever the
Hmm.
thing is.
Hmm.
And I also wanted to point out, like, isolating you again, like you weren't going to church anymore,
Yes.
isolating you again, because I know, and I did that a lot of times too. Like
Yep.
I wanted to go hiking with him because that would make him happy.
Hmm.
Well, we would go hiking on Sunday mornings.
Hmm.
And listen, I did go to church, but that doesn't mean he didn't care. Like he never asked me about it. He didn't care. He told me it was stupid.
Of
So
course. Yep.
regardless of if I was there or not, and if I wanted to
Hmm.
go to a special event or something, he would just,
Hmm.
get upset about it, and you're always out and all this stuff. So
Hmm.
being in church, I was like holding on to that because it was something that
Yes.
was important to me, but
Yes.
it also caused a rift. But it's all, and it doesn't matter what it is. I could have
Right.
been saving puppies from a well, and it didn't matter. I was not
No.
spending time with him, and it was a
Him.
problem,
It
so
was something that wasn't about him. It could be
yeah.
anything. If it's not about him, he's not going to like it. He's going to ruin it for you. Like, we talked about this before last year,
Yeah.
that any event, anything positive, a wedding, a party, they would
Anything.
ruin it and they jeopardize everything. And when you're living that year after year, it just takes such a toll on you. And
Yeah.
like I keep saying, you really just start abandoning yourself, but you don't even
Yeah.
realize you're doing it,
Yeah. And
which
so
is so sad.
when you started talking about it, did you go right to the podcast, or did you start, telling some friends, or did you go on social media? How did you start that process?
I think probably it was more my friends. Like, I
Yeah.
had a girlfriend going through a similar divorce from her narcissist,
Yeah.
unbeknownst to both of us, but he
Yeah.
was.
Yeah.
And I started sharing some things, like in empathizing with her and her journey.
Yeah.
And I knew a lot of what he had done, but I was just, oh yeah, my ex did this. She's like, what? Like, shocked
Yeah.
of the things I started disclosing and sharing, like, because I did not share that with many people, because partly I was probably embarrassed. And I
Of
also didn't
course.
want friends hating him. I didn't want my family hating him. So I hid so much from
Yeah.
everyone, right?
Yeah.
As we all do, because we're embarrassed, we have shame, what have you. And then when I started like slowly just sharing it a little bit, my friends were just like shocked, but then
Yeah.
also like they were so lovely and like comforting.
Oh,
And
that's great.
that actually, validates you even more of like, okay, yeah, no, I'm not crazy. Because at the end, you think
Yeah.
you're the problem.
Oh,
They
yeah, for
have
sure.
everything so twisted that you think
Yeah.
you are the problem in the marriage and that you are the bad person. You're
Yeah.
the crazy person. And
Yeah.
that's not it at all. We are the sane ones that are just, like I said, we are like honestly victims. And so
We are. Yeah.
talking about it was great. And then when I really felt that I needed to share more on my podcast, that's when, I decided to launch my podcast last year. And I think for me, what I've learned and coming from a year later, I knew I was ready to launch my podcast. I didn't realize how much more healing I still had to do that entire last year. And I healed
Yeah.
from guests such as yourself. Like
Yeah.
just even hearing, as I mentioned,
Yeah.
similar stories made me feel less alone.
Yeah.
And that's been part of my healing journey. And I think the self-confidence piece was the last piece for me because I was so self-confident in my career and my job and being a mover and a shaker in New
Yeah.
York. But
Yeah.
then starting my own business, I was scared at every turn. I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't even know how to work this technology, how to do a
Yeah.
podcast. But all of that was so helpful because that's how I slowly built back my self-confidence, even
It's
like learning new
amazing.
things,
Yeah.
challenging myself,
Mhm.
and then healing and even being on camera. Like speaking like this is fine. This is not a problem
Yeah.
for me. But doing solo episodes, putting myself out there, talking
Yes.
about things on camera where I'm seeing everyone have no problems doing that from every
Yeah.
generation. I'm like, why is this so hard for me? And
Yeah.
I realize it's because my self-confidence was this big. And I'm
Yeah.
still probably working on it. I have
Yeah.
all these ideas that I want to do, but part of me is still holding back because I'm not feeling ready yet. And I'm not going
Yeah.
to force myself.
Right.
I'm going to go at my pace. But slowly, with every twist and turn, I'm reclaiming
Yeah.
myself and coming back to me, who I'm meant to be
I
and who
love that.
God wants me to be. And that's taken time. And I think even next year when I do a podcast
Yeah.
episode with you, I'll be a different person then
I'm
because
telling
it's
you.
just evolving and healing and it takes time. Like
Yeah.
healing from this, I was in it for 15 and a half years total. I'm not going to be free of it in a year or two. Like it's going
Yeah.
to take time and healing's not cyclical. And I think something I love to share is that just be patient with yourself. Like
Yes.
there is no
Yeah.
timetable to be whole and healthy and perfect. And the society says you should be doing X, Y, and Z. I tune all of that out and I
Yes.
just focus on my lane and what I'm doing and what works
Yes.
for me and when it works for me
No, I
because
love
no one
that.
else has walked in my shoes. I mean, you obviously understand, but that's part of me loving myself,
Yeah.
right? And going at my own pace versus feeling forced or,
Yeah.
a square peg round hole. Like I'm not going to do that.
Yeah.
And that's taken time to even understand that about myself.
It's your personal journey. And that's why
Yes.
there's no anything. I have people who literally DM me, how long will my healing take?
Nope. Nope.
What? Like,
Can't
because,
tell you.
because literally, like I was telling you before we hopped on, a podcast episode I released yesterday that I
Yeah.
recorded a couple months ago, I had real time healing. It's
Yeah.
it's been
Yes.
almost 4 years, and I had another layer of healing. And
Mhm.
so this is the thing is,
Yeah.
and people have told me this. So like what you were saying, it's like we have to give ourselves grace,
Yes.
which I had friends because I'm very type A, and I was like, okay, let's go, let's get this healing going.
Yep. Done. Check.
Like,
Moving on. Let's go. I'm the
let's
same person.
go.
I'm the exact same way.
Yeah,
Yep.
I'm like, I'm getting rid of the problem, so let's go. And my friends were like, okay, slow down. You got to give yourself some grace. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
This is stupid.
Yeah. Yeah.
But we didn't, you don't realize you're going to grieve, even though you're happy about this
Yes.
marriage being gone. It's like, you're going to
Yes.
grieve this, right? And it's like, you don't know. And I also believe that when we are ready to see the next part of our healing is when
Yes.
when it
Yes.
starts to show up, and then the right people come into our life.
Yes.
Because I don't know if I would have been ready for whatever I heard, the other day.
Yes.
I don't know if I would have been ready for that,
Hmm.
a couple of years
Hmm.
ago. I was ready for it then.
Yes.
And but the nice thing is, and this is what I want to tell people who are listening. So it's been almost 4 years.
Hmm.
I've done a ton of healing.
Yep.
is that you can get through these quote unquote triggers
Hmm.
faster
Hmm.
because you have the tools in your toolbox and it's not
Yes.
a fresh, horrible wound. It's like just another layer, the peeling
Yes.
back the onion.
Yes.
And it's so good to do that and to keep growing. I mean,
Yes.
if we're not dead, we're not done. So we gotta keep
Yeah, we're
going.
not done.
I
But it's
wanted
so
to
true.
I wanted to say something about because you and I were like, we're getting on social media and then we're gonna get a podcast going. But
Yeah. Right. Right.
but I want to talk to people who are out there who are like, I don't want to do a podcast. I don't want to tell the whole world.
Yeah.
Maybe the way you share your story is by telling your best friend the
Yes.
real reason that you got a
Yeah.
divorce,
Hmm.
the
Hmm.
real reason, the real things that were happening behind closed doors. Or,
Yes.
it might be somebody that you really trust because that like it changes things like you were saying with your friend. Like it
Hmm.
really makes a difference. And I talked to some friends as soon as I started sharing my story. I had friends who I already knew who were like,
Hmm.
Laura, my first marriage was abusive. I was like,
Right.
you were married before and it
Right.
was abusive?
Right.
Like, but
Yeah.
because I was able to say it, they were like,
Hmm.
Me too. And
Yes.
so,
Yep.
so maybe the way you step forward in courage
Yes.
is by telling somebody close to you that what the
Yes.
real reason was rather
Yep.
than,
Yeah.
trying to
And to
keep
your
it quiet.
I agree. And I don't, you and I just chose to have a platform, right? Because
Yes,
that's just our
exactly.
personality. We're very
Yeah,
type A. What's next? Let's go. And we're not saying everyone has to do that by any means, but
right.
I do think you can have your own mini platform right in your own life. And it could be like,
Yes.
to your point, telling a close friend, or even like if you follow a podcast, maybe like
Yeah.
connect with people in similar groups that are going through similar
Yes.
things as you with narcissists so you don't feel so alone, because that's been really helpful for me. And even with my girlfriend who's going through, I have another girlfriend literally getting divorced from the exact same person, and I'm able to take everything I've learned
Yes.
and pay it forward and help them, not on my podcast but just in conversations with my
Yes.
friends,
I
and
love that.
that's, and I feel like that's how you and I can also help people by sharing our journey to
Yeah.
help people feel less alone. But then in their everyday lives, please, you're not alone. Go talk to someone. Don't hold it in. If it's not a
Yeah.
close friend, go to your pastor or priest. There are
Yeah.
people out there that are willing to help you. And once you kind of, I feel like open that up and share it, it's so cathartic, and it can be really healing, because that's the first step in at least admitting something's wrong with my marriage and with this
Yeah.
person and I'm not happy. That's a
Yeah.
great first step towards healing. And it doesn't mean you're going to get divorced. Maybe you end up going to therapy. Who
Yeah.
knows? Like
Yeah.
it could look
Exactly.
different for you. Like, I'm not a proponent of divorce, but
Yeah.
if there is repeated emotional abuse and of
Right.
course physical, get out. Like,
Yeah.
just get out of the house. Like, go to
Yeah.
a friend's house. Just get away from it to give yourself space and time to think
Yeah.
clearly without the
Yeah.
pressure of someone nagging you, you know what I mean? Or hounding you
Yeah, for
or
sure. Well, because they don't think, I mean, at least mine said this, and I know I've heard this from other women as
Mhm.
well. And I speak very heteronormative because the statistics are
Yeah.
the abusers are usually a man, the
Yep.
victims are usually a woman. So that's why I
Mhm.
speak that way. Um, that they, one moment.
I'm like, is that a brain fog? Because I get those all the time. Menopause
Because I
brain.
added in a stupid disclaimer. Please cut that part out, Jen. Um,
I love you. I really do.
oh, I remember now. So mine would say that he does nothing wrong and all of our
Mhm.
problems are because of me.
Of
And
course.
so many times like we do want them to get better, go to therapy, all these things, but it's
Yep.
like they already don't even think that they do anything wrong. So
Right.
it's so hard to do that because also
Yep.
we're thinking logically in
Yes.
an illogical situation. Like we're
Hmm.
trying to have logic. Like if we would just go to therapy, we would discuss our issues and then we would, ride off into the sunset, so happy. But
Hmm.
they don't think there's a problem. And
Right.
the thing for me, the experiences I had in therapy, marriage counseling were terrible because I didn't know I was
Yeah.
in abuse
Me
and
too.
ended up on meds and which if
Oh.
you need them, you need them. But they intentionally like, oh, I'm so concerned about Laura there's something wrong with her. Like he would
Yep.
walk in the door saying that. It's like, hello, like what? And so like
Awful.
they're already like bamboozling you
Mhm.
the minute, and so if the therapist is not trauma informed or
Right.
narcissistic abuse informed, they're not going to know. They're because they'll talk to you about, like after a divorce, they'll talk to you about reconciliation and things like that, which
Mhm.
is what I heard in my divorce group. And
Mhm.
we can't be talking about that when you were in abuse,
Yes.
so
Yes.
you just have to be very careful what you
Yep.
do. And yes, you can leave to send a message, which is what I want to do, but if they don't think they're doing anything wrong, it's not going to matter to them.
Right. Right.
Hard.
Absolutely. I
It's
mean, and I
hard.
think that's the whole thing. They're setting the narrative. Like if you're walking in, they're already setting that
Yeah.
narrative and to make you look like the crazy person, the victim, not the victim, but you know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
it's all just such like brainwashing. Like
it
it's
is.
and I know actually I've heard and read, I know you've said this too, is that like emotional abuse like that will impact your brain. Like
It
it can
does.
really damage your brain. And
Yeah.
I also think as a result, you're not even thinking clearly from all the abuse, right? So you probably
Right.
aren't even in a standpoint to make sound decisions for
No.
yourself, which is why I think it's important to talk to someone, a friend,
Right.
a parent, whomever you feel
Yeah.
safe talking to so you're not alone. And then find
Yeah.
resources like us so that way you
Right.
can learn what
Exactly.
to do, how to do it. I
Yes.
think that's really important.
Yeah. Because if someone is not trauma informed, they just aren't
Hmm.
sure how to help you.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
when we can't make those decisions,
Yeah.
then if we can't think clearly, if we're in that
Hmm.
fog, we are definitely in that fog at the end, especially
Yeah.
towards the end of the marriage.
Yeah.
You're in
Hmm.
that narcissistic abuse
Hmm.
fog and you don't know how to make decisions. And so you're like, was relying on, my professional therapist, but she was saying ridiculous things that didn't make any
Hmm.
sense. And so,
Yep.
I
Yep.
had to at some point just I woke up a little bit. I didn't know it was abuse till after.
Yep.
Woke up a little bit to be like, okay, I'm done. Like, I can't do
Hmm.
this anymore.
Hmm. Hmm.
So if you are talking to a friend, let's talk a little bit about if you have a friend who,
Hmm.
I don't know, maybe they say, oh, what you were talking about sounds familiar, or things like that. Like, let's talk a little bit about supporting
Hmm.
people through that.
It's
Um,
really
yeah,
interesting because I do have a friend who, and I won't mention their name,
yeah.
that I feel like they are definitely in a narcissistic relationship, and I
Okay.
don't think they know.
Okay.
And so that's not for me to say anything.
No.
They're on paper happily married. And my other friend, who is, like-minded and also was married to a narcissist, is like,
Yeah.
whoa. And I'm like, well, maybe God put me in this person's life to be there for them
Yes.
when
Yes.
and if they need someone to go to without me bringing it up, without me bashing them. Like, I also, because of what
Yeah.
we've walked through, my discernment is on fire when I'm around
I
people that
know.
are narcissists. I can pick
Yes.
them out within
I know.
seconds. The
I
hair on my arms will
know.
like be on alert and raised because I'm like, OMG, what in God's name
I
is this? And I know
know.
exactly what this is. So for me, I can't tell people what to do, right?
No,
I
you
can't say
can't.
da da da. Da. I have to be there for them and be a loving, supportive person if and when they come to me. And also,
Yeah.
the only thing I can do is just pray for them and be there for them because,
And yeah, and
you know,
listening if she has stories
yes.
that
Hmm.
she wants to
Hmm.
process, that's important. Also, believing them, that's a really
Yes.
important one. Because they're coming to you. She feels safe with you,
Hmm.
whoever it is, your friend feels safe with you.
Yep.
And so, let's go ahead, just err on the side of believing them rather than,
Yes.
and also not saying things like, well, maybe he didn't mean it. Just listening,
Yes.
because we
Hmm.
can't fix this. Now, if
Yep.
you're not informed, then just listen and
Hmm.
don't say things like, well, maybe he didn't mean it or whatever. Did you try talking to him? Like all of that. Don't just listen and support
Yep.
them. And like
Yep.
with us, like you were saying, that's all we can do. We can listen, we can pray,
Yep.
we
Hmm.
can support them. However, take them out for a cup
Yes.
of coffee. Don't forget, if they can still go out, then to invite them places to go to dinner,
Hmm.
or
Hmm.
even invite them over if you feel like it would be okay, to have
Yes.
to have dinner or
Exactly.
something with you, something
Exactly.
like that. Just support
Yeah.
them.
And I think to your point, we say, listen, I also think it's like they're going to want validation. Like they're not
Yeah.
crazy. They're not wrong. And I'm like, no, you have every right to be upset. That's
Yeah.
unacceptable behavior without
Yeah.
naming it and
Yes.
calling it. I think just
Yes.
empowering them is going to be so beneficial versus, oh, make it work or whatever, like friend excuse. Like I'm not like that. Like I'm just going to
Yeah.
listen. Okay. Validate them if
I
their
love
feelings
that.
are hurt. You know what I'm saying? Cause I think that's a big piece in sort of feeling like getting your self-confidence back, even if it's like
Yeah.
a little morsel, like just being like, okay,
Yes.
that's my safe person. And I know
Yeah.
they're not going to judge me. They're not going to think I'm crazy. They're not going to shame me because I think if someone's coming to you and saying,
Yeah.
oh my God, this happened, blah, 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 like, I just want to be there for them because I was there. I know
Yeah.
exactly how they're feeling and I can empathize with them more than someone else who hasn't experienced emotional abuse.
Yeah. I think that's great to validate them and say like, "Oh no,
Mhm.
that's not that behavior is
Mhm.
not okay." That way they don't feel crazy. And
Yes.
but we never it doesn't matter if we know they're a narcissist or not. Doesn't matter. We never have
No.
to name it
No.
because it doesn't matter. I
No.
always say like it's the way you're being treated. Like both of us
Yes.
didn't know it was narcissistic abuse. So
Yes.
it's like how were we being treated in our marriages?
Hmm.
That was what need because we weren't going to do it for the rest of our life. That's what it was. Like that was our breaking point
Our
was like
breaking point.
I'm not
Yes.
doing this. I'm not doing this for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
And
I
we
can't live
didn't
like
have to
this.
yeah, we didn't have to know. I have a woman who had commented on one of my posts and she said my current husband
Oh,
is diagnosed with
wow.
NPD, narcissistic personality disorder, and
Yep.
he uses it against her and says, "Well, I'm just a narcissist." And so this is the thing is that is so the label doesn't matter. So like you
Yep.
were saying, just validate that person. Yeah, that
Yes.
behavior doesn't that's
Right.
not great behavior.
Right.
So let that way you can gently and you're still
Hmm.
safe, right? You're
Hmm.
still safe.
Yes.
If that's not something you can support your friend in, I guess let them know that, but
Yeah.
because but you know what? There were friends I had that I would tell them things and they'd go, "Oh, okay." Like, and so you can't go talk to them again because
Exactly.
they're not because I had other friends who were like, "Tell me everything. Tell me every bit of healing you're going through. How are
Yeah.
you feeling and what are you unraveling?" Like I
Yeah.
had so many
Yeah.
friends like that I was like, "Oh, thank God."
Yeah. And
That
you need that because, like, even just being able to speak about it is
yeah,
healing in its own way and
it is.
validating and just not feeling alone because they want you to feel all that alone,
Yeah.
crazy, whatever. But you said
Yeah.
something, and of course, now I'm totally forgetting. We'll cut this out too. But I had a
Okay.
good point, and now it's gone. This is
If
why I
you're
hate menopause. It's like
I
in and out.
know, I'm telling you. I am telling you. Okay, so
Listen,
we'll cut that part out
cut that
and
out a
then
little bit.
okay, let me see where we're gonna go from here. Oh yeah, you were talking to do you want to talk no, you don't need to talk about your book right now, but you're expanding your work. Okay,
I
so
mentioned it already.
okay,
I mentioned it.
all
Yeah.
right. So Stephanie, you're expanding your work as a writer. Tell me what you're writing about.
Yeah. Yeah. So a couple years ago, or many years ago, someone told me, oh, it was a medium of all people when I was still stuck in New Age spirituality. And she told me, like, oh, I can't wait to sign it. I'm like, sign what? What are you talking about? She's like, your book. You're going to write a book in like 10 years. I'm like, what? Okay. All right. With a grain of salt. And
How
then it
funny.
wasn't until last year, one of my guests, Dr. Rob Kelly, he's, an amazing neuroscientist slash
Okay.
therapist. And I did a little bit of work with him after our podcast because I really was just so excited about healing
Yeah.
and doing different things to heal. And he was amazing. And as we were talking, he just speaking with him was building me up. He was saying
That's
some
awesome.
amazing, great things about me. And I'm like,
Yeah.
I didn't think that about myself. He's like, you
Yeah.
have a book in you, you have to write it. And I'm like, that was the second person that told me that I have to, they see a
Yeah.
book in me. And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to do it. I'm just going to do it.
Yeah.
I was told years ago at one of my PR jobs that I wasn't a good writer. That limiting belief was
Of
stuck in my
course.
head my entire life
Yeah.
until ironically, I'm the one who wrote my ex a really good email towards the end. And he's like, your email was so great. That's why I want a divorce. I'm like, just do you hear yourself? This is asinine. Like, this is
Yeah.
so crazy. So, okay, so clearly I'm a good writer. So I started working with an editor and I just started writing my journey about my
That's
entire
awesome.
life, like how I came from, being bullied as a child to
Yeah.
now finding myself 50, single, not dating anyone, no children, in midlife, and
Yeah.
just sort of like figuring it out as I go.
That's
But
amazing.
I've been through so much and I have so much lived experience that I really wanted to share my story to, help others and to sort of
Yeah.
give back and share my journey of showing you like, just because a marriage ends or your life doesn't turn out the way it is, it doesn't mean it's bad or less worthy or over. So
Yeah.
here I am divorced and I'm starting a whole new life. My second act is really happening right now. I'm living it in real time and I'm sharing that throughout my podcast. Like anything that comes up that I'm upset with or I'm experiencing, I'm sharing it. Menopause, like
Yeah.
learning the podcast, writing my memoir. Now I'm like working with lawyers because I'm praying my ex doesn't want to sue me over this book. So, all of those things are
Yeah.
coming into play. But that
That's
is sort of
amazing.
how I think in a lot of ways, even writing my book has been very cathartic and healing because I'm
Yes.
taking back that power and putting it on paper. And you don't have to write a book to get that healing.
No.
Just journal
Yes.
things, get things out, share
Yeah.
with your friends or family, or
Yeah.
just put on music and scream and sing. And
Yep.
there's so many ways to release that trauma because it really is trauma that we
Yeah.
have to navigate now. And we have
It
to get it
is.
out of our bodies, our
Yeah.
mind, body, spirit. It's all
Yes.
connected.
It's
And
all connected.
whatever you have to do to heal, to
Yes.
release, do it. I mean, I was just crying the other day. Like something will come up and I'll just start
Yeah.
crying.
It's so
And
good it's so good
it
to do that.
it is. And that's where I tell people to be very patient with yourself. There is
Yeah.
no timetable. You could be fine and happy 1 minute and crying the next. And that's okay. That is healing. I say, let it out, release it, and just let it pass through you. Don't hold on to it. Let it go.
Yes.
And then you are going to feel so much better after that. And you really do. And I hear the old saying, time heals all wounds. Time really does help. It's
Yeah.
time and healing and just doing things differently and getting distance from your ex or that
Yes.
marriage is
Yes.
so helpful too. And so that's sort of where I'm at now with my book. I'm in the final stages of editing it. I'm hoping it'll come out maybe end of this year, early next year, but we'll see.
Awesome.
I don't know the whole publishing
Yeah,
steps, whether I'm
exactly.
going to self-publish or what have
Right.
you, but
Well, it
it'll
sounds
be great.
amazing. Well, it sounds amazing, and that's a good place for us to end today. I mean, that sounds amazing, and I'm so thankful of all the work you're doing, helping
Oh,
women in
likewise.
midlife, to navigate everything, to navigate it all, their faith journey, their
Yeah.
their healing journey, all of that. So thank you
Yep.
so much for being here
My
today. I
pleasure.
really appreciate
My
you.
pleasure. Thank you for having me on. I'm so glad we met last year because
Thank
you have been
you.
so instrumental in my healing. And
Aw,
now I'm sharing your posts
yay.
with a lot of my friends as well. So
I
thank you
appreciate
so
that.
much.
So, guys, if anything resonated with you today, please go ahead, and you're on Apple or Spotify right now. Go ahead and leave us a 5-star review. If you're on YouTube, go ahead and subscribe and like and all those things. And then you'll get a video right after this of my interview with Stephanie. So, Stephanie, thanks again for being here. I appreciate you.
My pleasure. Thanks again.